So I can see now, after running back Kambosos versus Lopez, Haney versus Jojo Diaz, why um, professionals and different people in the business, why they can see uh, George Kambosos winning the fight. And I'm gonna just list some of the things I somewhat knew already, but some of the things anyway, why they think so, and then I'll list some of the things, uh, keys to victory for Devin Haney in the fight, and we'll get into it. So George Kambosos um, versus Teofimo Lopez. One of the things with George Kambosos, and he even talks about it, is his engine. George Kambosos is in ridiculous shape. He's in ridiculous conditioning, and he's able to push the pace of the fight at a very high pace. This was one of the reasons why Teofimo Lopez also fatigued in this fight. It was because Kambosos keeps the fight at a certain pace. Of course, Teofimo's mindset was to knock out Kambosos. That's how he came into the fight. Um, so George Kambosos' mindset uh, is to push the pace of the fight. And you hear him boast about his conditioning, how he can outlast any other guy in there. It's because from round 1 to round 12, Kambosos is going to be going at a high pace. And if you look at him, he's a high pace, high energy kind of guy, kind of like Manny Pacquiao. So that's one. The second thing, and this is always important for boxers to know, that the judges note is one, that you're very engaging, and two, you start the exchanges and you end the exchanges. Kambosos, even if he didn't hit Teofimo Lopez, was always trying to get back. So if Teo landed something, Kambosos was countering him. And just like with Dimitri Bivol versus Canelo Alvarez, it's about the optics. It's not so much about what's really going on. Kambosos keeps his fights close because he always answers his opponents. He always comes back with an answer. So if you throw a certain combination, he's going to come back with something. Okay? And with Teo in that fight, Teo was landing some really great shots. But Kambosos kept on answering him. You know, even when Kambosos looked like he was hurt, he would still come back with something. He would very smartly gather himself and then come back with something. So that's the second thing that's very important for people to remember in this Kambosos versus Haney fight. And the third thing that Kambosos does, and he does it very, very, very good, is he keeps his chin tucked. He really tucks his chin right in there and he fights with his chin tucked all the time. Fundamentals of boxing. He gets hit on the top of the head, fine. The only time he gets nabbed on the chin is with the overhand right, like what Teo landed on him. But for the most part, he keeps his chin tucked when he's fighting, which allows him a lot of durability in exchanges. I mean, he got murked pretty bad in round 10 when Teo dropped him and really started to beat him up and land some punches. But again, he was smart. He knew how to move in and clinch. He knew how to gain back his composure and also recoup from that. And his powers of recuperation are pretty strong because he's really well conditioned. So within about a good minute, he was fine again. In the meantime, he was using survival tactics, whatever. So George Kambosos, that they were saying telling Teo to flurry. If he had thrown a lot more combinations, as it hurt Kambosos, maybe the ref would have stopped the fight. I don't know if that would have worked because Kambosos was live enough to know how to use his defense and get out of the way of the punches, but it might have worked. What I do know is that George Kambosos is notoriously difficult to knock out because combination of his defense and the fundamentals that he has is going to be very difficult to knock him out. And you have to understand, he's always going to try to respond to something you do. Almost immediately, he's trying to get the get back, which could work in his favor or it could work against him. It depends. So, the keys to victory for George Kambosos: keep the pace high, try to dictate the fight from the get-go, or as he did with Teofimo Lopez, use his defense and try and bait Devin Haney into being offensively minded and make him comfortable. And as soon as he gets comfortable, counterpunch him, to take him to change the momentum of the fight. And then from there, once he's hurt Devin Haney, change the pace of this fight and just keep the pace as rapid as possible so Devin Haney has to catch up, because pace is going to be the key with Kambosos' win. Of course, the next thing is to answer Devin Haney. Now, Kambosos has a nice check hook as you're throwing a jab, and you say you're coming into him. If you're coming into him throwing a jab, he has a nice check hook. Now, Teofimo Lopez had a great jab in that fight, but the problem with Teofimo Lopez is he only had one kind of jab. He was just popping one kind of jab at Kambosos, whereas Devin Haney will be occupying him, pulling with the jab, and doing many other things. And we'll see if Kambosos will try and slap away the jab, parry the jab, whether he's got some other tricks up his sleeve to deal with Devin Haney's jab, because Devin Haney has an active lead hand. So Kambosos loves to use the check left hook to offset a guy who's coming in. He also leads with his left hook. He loves to throw the left hook, actually. He's a left hook guy. He throws a lot of left hooks. And he loves to counter the jab if he can. He's very quick on the counter. He's also quicker. I believe he's a quicker fighter than Devin Haney. That's why he's calling Devin Haney flat-footed. Devin Haney's not really flat-footed, but the only thing with Teofimo Lopez wasn't respecting distance. He was just shelling up and pivoting out the way. And that just opened the door for Kambosos to do what he wanted to do. T was trying to be the bully and then walk Kambosos down. Devin Haney's not really necessarily going to approach it like that. Now, here's the thing, though. And this is where Kambosos may actually have the edge. If Devin Haney cannot make Kambosos respect his power, Kambosos is going to walk all over him. Okay, all over him. I'm telling you right now, you're going to walk all over him. There are two very important things I learned. In this weigh-in, Kambosos showed us that he's actually heavier than he really is. Okay, Kambosos is bone dry when he's fighting in fights, because literally he's a much bigger guy walking around than he is fighting. That's why he has that punch resistance as well, I think. So the reason why Kambosos looks so skinny and so scrangy is because he's actually a much bigger guy that's dehydrating down in weight to make the weight. That could work against him or for him on fight night. Because I guess he's going to have the energy and everything. I just think, though, that by and large, he's actually bigger. So where I thought Kambosos was a small guy, he's not a small guy. And that's the deception. That's why he looked bone dry against even Teofimo Lopez. He's probably trying to maintain weight. He's probably a bigger guy, a much bigger guy than we think, but he's just doing it for speed and everything. But he's quick. He's very quick. He's quicker than Devin Haney. He's faster than Devin Haney, I believe. Devin Haney works with a certain rhythm. And Kambosos, Devin Haney is going to have to be sharper than he usually is in his fights, even with Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is not really a fleet of foot kind of guy. He's kind of flat-footed. Jorge Linares is quick, but he's kind of flat-footed too. Devin Haney can't go in there, lackluster and stuff, because Kambosos will run all over him. Kambosos is a quick guy, quick feet, quick hands. He does box. He boxes quite well as well. He boxes pretty well, from what I see from Tio. Once Kambosos can get past Devin Haney's jab, which I've seen guys like Jojo Diaz do. Jorge Linares for a minute or two in his fight did it as well. You can land punches on Devin Haney. You know what I mean? In trades and exchanges, at mid-range, I do believe Kambosos has the advantage, period. So if Devin Haney keeps the fight in the punching range, I think Kambosos will definitely answer him and come back with something. And so if Devin Haney keeps it long, it's going to be almost a shutout fight if he keeps it long. The thing is, you can't keep a fight long for the entire fight. It don't work like that. Kambosos is going to be able to get into Devin Haney and land shots. And what Devin Haney generally does is he goes into defensive mode and he dips down and he blocks up everything, right? And that might be effective in terms of protecting himself, but the optics of it, if Kambosos is just throwing a whole bunch of punches and Devin Haney's just kind of in the peekaboo guard, just guarding up, it ain't going to look good for Devin Haney. And you got to remember, in Australia, everything counts. And this is how Kambosos can keep the fight close. You know, moments where Devin Haney's on the defense and covering up. Now, if Devin Haney is using like a defense like Mayweather, which he doesn't really, he kind of does, but he doesn't really, where he's catching and shooting, that could work, but he has to be pinpoint accurate with when he shoots, because here's what's happening. When you shoot, Kambosos is going to try and come back with something. So you have to hit him with something. Devin Haney literally has to have some power where he can stun Kambosos. If he can't stun Kambosos, if he can't make Kambosos respect his power coming in, because remember, this dude fought Teal. Teal got lots of power, right? Of course, it's not about how much power you have, but it's the shots that you don't see. And Devin Haney, as a fighter, to be honest with you, he's got great boxing skills and everything, but I don't really see him walking guys into traps where they get hit with shots they don't see. You know, like Floyd could do. You know, that special effects. Devin Haney might keep it simple, keep it long, and make Kambosos come get him. Because the more Kambosos would come get Devin Haney is actually the more advantage to Devin Haney to counterpunch Kambosos. Just like what Kambosos did to Teal. Teal was coming to get him, and kind of like. So, but Teal got onto Kambosos because of his jab. Teal's jab made a big difference when he was very effective in the middle rounds. He was effective because Teal was actually using his jab to get to Kambosos. And right now the video is just doing a lot of crap. I can't help it. My phone's doing this. So if you guys see the feed and it's kind of breaking up, there's nothing I can do about it. All right. So me personally, I think Kambosos has a lot going for him in terms of those things, if he can get it going. If Devin Haney shuts him down from the get-go, he's going to have to bide his time till he gets his moment to change the momentum of the fight. And then he may have to be patient for a good minute in the fight, as well as if he's relentless and he's pressing, you know, he might get that crack and then get in there and be able to do what he do as Kambosos. But like with Floyd versus Pacquiao, you know, guys gotta have momentum. A guy has to have momentum to be able to do something. And if you ain't got no momentum, whatever, the guys just keep on stopping your momentum. It's gonna be harder to do it. You know, but this is why I think Kambosos thinks of Devin Haney as a boy. It's not necessarily only because he's being racist with it, which some of you guys think it is. But I think he just thinks that Devin Haney's not battle tested. So let's go to Devin Haney's keys to victory. With Devin Haney, he's about to face a fighter who loves to fight. I mean, they all love to fight, so that'll make a difference. But this fighter likes to make it rough and rugged. He likes to make it a war. Okay? Kambosos likes to make it a war. So this is a presentation. This is the challenge before Devin Haney. How do I control and tame a fighter who loves to bang, who loves to war, who is also a very good boxer? Okay? And he's smart in there about what he's doing. And it's all based on the fundamentals. It's all following the fundamentals. Now, let me just make it abundantly clear. Jojo Diaz got some really good shots in on Devin Haney. He got some good body shots in on him. And I'm sure Kambosos has done his homework. And he's also got some good head shots in on Devin Haney. Now, he's southpaw, but nonetheless, Jojo Diaz was able to close the distance on Devin Haney. Devin Haney was fighting Jojo Diaz in the pocket. And, you know, Jojo Diaz had his moments, okay? Now that will be fuel for Kambosos. Kambosos will look at that and say, if Jojo Diaz had that kind of success, and I'm way quicker than Jojo Diaz, I'm way faster than Jojo Diaz, I throw way more punches than Jojo Diaz, I'm going to have some success because it's just a numbers game. If I throw enough punches, I'm going to land something. He probably thinks he hits harder than Jojo Diaz because Jojo Diaz hit Devin Haney with some flush shots. Devin Haney got hit with some flush shots in that fight. So, what I would say is that Kambosos, Devin Haney's going into a fight where now he's going to have to deal with a guy who's battle tested. So, yeah, he dealt with Jorge Linares, who's battle tested, but Jorge Linares is not tenacious, is not as ferocious as Kambosos is. And also, Devin Haney is facing a guy, and by the way, Jojo Diaz is also ferocious, and he's a battle tested kind of guy, and he loves to mix it up. But with Kambosos, you're looking at A guy who throws combinations like all the people in boxing are saying. Guys, a guy that throws combinations like Jorge Linares, but much more consistently. A guy with high octane, high pace, high everything, and also a guy who likes to break down fighters. He likes to go to the body, mix it up, body to the head, and break down fighters. Also, throwing good boxing shots. So that's the challenge that Devin Haney's up against. He's up against a battle-tested guy who does not think that Devin Haney's battle-tested enough to deal with it. He actually thinks that Teofimo Lopez, I think Kambosos thinks Teofimo Lopez is a greater threat than Devin Haney was, and we're yet to see. And mind you, Kambosos has faced boxers before. He faced Mickey Bay, and he also faced Lee Selby. So, and he has triumphed over them, right? Because of his and he has triumphed over them, right? Because of his style, because he throws a lot of punches, because he starts and finishes, or he finishes the exchanges with punches. It doesn't matter if he's landing or not. He finishes the exchange with punches, and that makes the fight close. So, Kambosos is basically, his goal is to outwork, out-hustle, out-throw Devin Haney. That's all he has to do. With Kambosos, it's about activity. All right? And if Devin Haney caves in for 1 minute, Kambosos is going to jump on his ass. And go jump on his ass. And he's going to do what Kambosos do. All right? Very much like Manny Pacquiao with any opponent. You know, you slip up 1 second with Manny Pacquiao, he going to blaze your ass, right? So Devin Haney's going to have to be switched on, and he's going to have to put on a master class to beat Kambosos. Now, this is what everybody has been seeing, and this is why they call it the 50-50 fight. I still don't think it's a 50-50 fight. I maintain what I said original. I think that Devin Haney is physically longer than Kambosos. I think that the way how he uses his lead hand is going to make a big difference in this fight. Do I think that Devin Haney is going to, Kambosos is going to show what Kambosos do? I think he's going to do it in spots. I think it's going to be sporadic, but I think this fight basically going to be controlled by Devin Haney. I said this before. Now, but what are the keys to victory? The first key to victory here is the jab. I've noticed when Teofimo Lopez jabbed and then proceeded to do whatever he wanted to do after the jab, particularly when he jabbed, let Kambosos react, and then stepped in, because Kambosos is going to almost instantaneously try to throw a check hook off his jab, and he's very quick with it, which is very good, by the way. It helps to deter the jab because he's trying to take away the jab from you. And Teo did take away Teo's jab. He tried to counter the jab a lot, Kambosos. But a sharp jab or a jab that's blinding you, it's hard to control that, especially when the other thing with Teofimo Lopez was approaching Kambosos in a straight line. You don't jab and come at a guy at a straight line. You come off angles. You know, the reason why he caught Kambosos was because Kambosos, when he jabbed him and Kambosos started to circle out, Kambosos created an angle and Teo was able to hit him over the top with the right hand. But when you're jabbing and you're jabbing opponents, you have to come in off angles. And once you jab off angles, it really helps. And then you can control that guy quite a lot. So I think that one of the keys to controlling the pace of the fight, to controlling the range of the fight, to be controlling the all-round tenure or culture of the fight is going to be the jab. And that's why I said in this particular fight, the jab is key. Because I do believe Kambosos, when he's dealing with somebody who can really jab and really knows how to jab and knows why they jab, I think it's going to be a totally different game. And in a way, Devin Haney's kind of going to suck the air out the tires. But I'm going to tell you this, though. You know, if he tries to just go at Kambosos at mid-range, Kambosos got way faster hand speed and everything. And even though Devin Haney would be landing probably the more telling shots, Kambosos is going to look like he in the fight, because Kambosos is going to be trading back with combinations and punches. Whether he hits or he's just, if Devin Haney's blocking most of them or whatever, it don't matter. You know, the other thing that's actually a misleading thing is Devin Haney thinking that Kambosos is a smaller guy. You know, I just went back and I checked it, and Kambosos is not the smaller guy. He's not. He's actually big and strong, but he's been sort of well conditioned and he's been maintaining his weight. But he's actually bigger. And what Kambosos did in the weigh-in, it's let us know that he's bigger than people think he is. That's the message that he sent in the weigh-in. I'm actually a bigger dude than you think I am. Just letting you know. Don't look at me because I'm looking bone dry. That means no, I'm bigger than you think, and I've been having a good strength and conditioning coach. So that's where Devin Haney gonna get it wrong. If he thinks that Kambosos is this small dude, he's not really. And I just realized that on thinking and reflecting and thinking about how's this guy taking these punches like that. Oh, he's taking the punches because he's bigger. Then he keeps on weight and he keeps on thing, but he's a bigger dude. And Kambosos is gonna be working on his speed and everything in this fight, and this is why people say it's a 50-50 because they don't disagree that Devin Haney probably could outbox Kambosos, but they think that when Kambosos gets Haney in any kind of defensive trouble, that Kambosos is gonna jump on it and really just try and change the complexity of the fight that way. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. Devin's looked very calm outside the ring. We're gonna see what he performed like inside the ring. But this is his thing. He has to either be deep in the pocket against Kambosos, or he's got to be on the outside of Kambosos. Um, if he's in the middle against Kambosos, like Ugas did, he has to keep his two guard up. The two guards gonna be his major defense, and he gotta walk him. He gotta circle him. You can't stay directly in front of Kambosos. You have to circle Kambosos, popping that jab and countering him with a jab, and keeping your two guards. So if you throw a whole bunch of punches, you block everything. I don't know if Devin Haney could do that. So all of that is up in the air, but we'll see. So that is where I think the fight is really going to be heated up. I think it's mid-range. Campos has got to be at mid-range because he don't have the reach advantage that Devin Haney has. He has to make the fight close. He has to also be physically closer to Devin Haney to really do what he does. And that's his little Achilles heel. If Devin Haney takes that away from him, makes the fight long, and uses his footwork and just picks him apart from the outside, particularly working his body because Kambosos got an incredible gas tank. So the only way you're going to really try to slow him down, you got to go to the body. And so Devin Haney needs to have some sort of body attack mixed in with his jab and stealing shots to the body. And, I mean, Kambosos got a hell of a head, so he can take punches to the head. But we all know you can't infinitely take punches to the body. I don't care who you are. So if and similarly vice versa, if Kambosos goes to Devin Haney's body, even though Devin Haney protects his body pretty well though, but if he goes to the body, because Jojo Diaz had some success going to the body, especially with left hooks. Kambosos' left hook, throwing that left hook to the body, that could be a key to wearing down Devin Haney as well. So if both guys are smart with their boxing, it's gonna be a good fight. But the advantage that I think Devin has over Kambosos is keeping the fight long. And once if he has a respectable right hand, because the thing with Kambosos is he takes chances as well as he's trading, and because he throws a lot of punches, he kind of opens himself up to get countered with significant counters that could put him down. And he'd been put down by Teofimo Lopez, and he could get put down. He could get hurt and put down by Devin Haney for sure. It sounds weird but I'm just saying that Devin Haney, again, you get caught with a shot you don't see. And it sounds weird, me saying put down by Devin Haney, be like, Devin Haney don't put down nobody. He don't really have tremendous power, a lot of people will say, but that's the irony. Nobody thought that Kambosos had that tremendous power either, even though he did put down Mickey Bay, because both guys don't have a whole lot of knockouts. But I tell you, hitting you with a shot you don't expect or you don't see, that's what puts guys down. It's not so much, Kambosos will put everything into his punches anyway. But yeah, I think the other thing with Devin, but I don't know if he has it in his arsenal, keys to victory, don't try to, you have to, at this level, you have to be able to mix up mix up the speed and power on your shots. And I know Devin kind of does that with nuance, but I mean literally mix up the speed and power on your shots. Sometimes, you know, but again, it's a calculation. Sometimes you don't put, and this is something that Kambosos might do even. You don't put everything on every single shot. Of course, nobody does that in boxing. But you wanna mix that power and mix that speed at which you do things, so that it keeps your opponent guessing, one, and then two, uh, that it may set up a money punch later, so you can find the range,
Mm-hmm.
find where this person is. In the meantime, you got them chasing you down. They coming, they coming, they coming, and then like Tank did, you just ignite. You just set it off, and you give them a decent punch. Again, not trying to not trying to knock them out, not trying to put everything into the punch because that slows it down. Just set them up for what you want to do. And I think if you look at the guys who were boxing, the guys who box of late have been really reaping great rewards. And a guy like Kambosos, he's tough and everything, but he gets hit with a punch he doesn't see, and anybody would go down with that. You know what I mean? So, and same thing vice versa for Kambosos versus Devin Haney. If Devin Haney don't see the punch that Kambosos lands on him, he could crumble him, and we'll see what happens after that with Devin Haney. Devin Haney does fight a lot, but I noticed, like Kambosos said, when he's hurt and stuff, he just try to fight back. But against a guy like a firefighter like Kambosos, who throws a lot of punches, that might be a dumb idea. You want to get your bearings, shut it down, and then you want to space it back out and do what you do. With Devin Haney, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know. So I could see where people saying, well, once Devin Haney gets hurt, it's a change. The game gonna be changed. I can see where they're seeing that. Um, will Devin Haney allow Kambosos that opportunity is the question. But I see what people have been saying with respect to Kambosos. I saw it from a while back, and yeah, my choice is still the same, Devin Haney. Um, but I see what they've been saying. I just wanted people to know that I saw what they're saying um, in this fight. I just think that I just think that Kambosos does a lot of good things, but a lot of it's dependent on range. And you deny a guy the place where he can fight best at, and the fight's a wrap. And that's why I said he's a mismatch. I didn't mean to, I put it on record and I said this fight's a mismatch. The reason why it's a mismatch is because it's going to stay at a certain range where Kambosos can't really do much of anything. And Kambosos is excellent when he's at mid range, but you take that away from him, and he really ain't got nothing. I do think he'll get into mid range at least once or twice. And Devin Haney's just going to go into his defense and then come back out of his defense and do what he do, just reset. Everything just be reset. So that's why I thought to myself, I don't see how Kambosos could beat Devin Haney. Even after all the keys to victory and everything I just said, and pace of the fight, everything's established by being first. So if Devin Haney's first, and he's not going to be like Teofimo Lopez, just gunning for Kambosos. He's gonna be much more sensible about it, and he's gonna try and pick Kambosos out from the outside. If Kambosos rushes him, he just uses his feet to get out the way and circle the ring and do whatever he has to do. So pretty much what I'm saying is, and who knows, Devin might be walking down Kambosos early, but on the end of the stick, you know what I mean? So you never know, but pretty much, I just believe that Devin's going to be able to take away from Kambosos what Kambosos does well, and he's going to be able to do it in a manner which it's clear that Kambosos, even if he throws punches afterwards, and that could be something that sets him up, because if Kambosos is a guy that likes to answer you almost immediately, and Devin Haney knows this, he's going to time him. Yeah, he's going to time him, and that's where it could get ugly. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know exactly how these guys are going to how the fight's going to actually mix up. But I can tell you these are the things that they do well, and I think Devin Haney has an advantage in that respect in terms of fighting because he has that reach advantage, and he also knows how to approach a fighter at certain angles that gives him, I think, the advantage in the fight. Clearly, the advantage in the fight, and I know, you know, and don't get me wrong, Kambosos is gonna have his moments, but cause he's world class, he's a world class boxer, but I don't see Kambosos getting that kind of fight that you saw with Teofimo Lopez, and but he does fight like that. He does fight extreme. He doesn't take no for an answer. He brings a lot of pressure. He brings a lot of activity. He tries to keep fights exciting. He'll get tagged up with shots, but he'll still keep coming. And he thinks that Devin Haney's like a Lee Selby or like a Mickey Bay. So he's thinking, oh, Lee Selby, Mickey Bay all over again. Maybe 2.0, but the same thing. I'm gonna overwhelm him. I'm gonna pressure him. I'm gonna really bring the heat. But you can only pressure a guy and bring the heat as far as the guy allows you. Because if the stick is a problem, and you have to get past that stick all the time. It's gonna be a long night for you. You know what I mean? So that's what I got for you guys. And I know you can slip the stick, you can change angles so the guy comes down the wrong angle and all that kind of stuff. Check hook, counter over the stick and stuff and make a guy hesitant. But you have to establish that early so that it'll deter the person from throwing the stick a lot. And I don't know. I think Devin Haney's excellent at throwing the stick, so I don't know how he's going to actually do that. But you never know. If you get him in a defensive, if you get Devin Haney in a defensive mode, he might throw the stick. He might look to throw leather, throw the right hand instead. So we'll see. I don't know. But that's basically the fight. This is what everybody been talking about. This is what everybody been seeing. And I choose to go from very, very early when I heard this matchup was possible. I chose to go with Devin Haney because I thought, God, his jab is going to make a big difference. Teofimo, when he was using the jab, was very effective against Kambosos. Once he used his jab, Kambosos had to respect that jab. So I'm just saying, if you're a jabber and you're consistent with your jabbing, but you mix up your jab, you use different kinds of jabs, you change the rhythm and speed of your jab all the time, and the momentum of your jab, you're gonna give any aggressive opponent a lot of problems with footwork. And the thing with Devin respects distance and range, unlike Teofimo Lopez, who just kind of stood there and tried to shoulder roll. So I don't think, and he had a close fight with Teofimo Lopez. Never mind, Teofimo Lopez have a lot more power. I believe, well, more knockouts. He's more of a knockout artist than Devin Haney is. But I think Devin Haney's just a way better boxer, and I just don't think Kambosos, for that reason, is going to have the same kind of success that he had against Teo. So that's what I got for you guys. We'll see. It's in Australia, and we'll see how the fight turns out to be. I told you guys, Paul Manosh, you remember Pacquiao versus Mayweather, people said that fight was a stinker. Now, if you appreciate boxing, you're going to appreciate what Devin Haney about to do to Kambosos. If you're just a casual fan watching in, you're going to say, oh man, this fight's kind of boring. You're going to say that because I'm telling you, man, Devin going to shut down Kambosos. I start picking him apart. That's what I see happening. Kambosos going to have his moments. He's going to get in there, throw his flurries and shit, and he's going to have his moments in one or two rounds, but for the most part, Devin going to just control that fight. And that's why I said it's a mismatch. It's going to be a shutout. It's going to be a whitewash. That's what Devin do. If Kambosos can get him to do something different, that would be great. We'll see. But that's what I got. I'm going to catch you guys later. I'm what you need.